Hello children. On today's episode we're going to be talking about brake pads. So if you're like me and you're in a track car or a sprint car or something like that, you'll know that just regular brake pads don't cut the mustard anymore and you need something a little bit better. The main question I get asked on a daily basis is what pads do I need and what do they do? So this week we've teamed up with PBS and we are going to explain what brake pads do, how to work out what brake pads you need, and why you need performance brake pads. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, hopefully you learn something from today's video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. So I'd assume that everyone has a basic understanding of how brakes work, but if not, don't worry, I will explain. So this picture here, these are brake pads. And that is a brake disc and a caliper. So that's a GT4 caliper, so it's slightly different to a normal brake caliper that you will find in the car. Inside there's pistons. There's 4 on there because it's a GT4. And what happens is you press the pedal, pistons come out, and then they push the pad against the disc. That causes friction, which in turn is what slows the car down. Why do you need upgraded brake pads? Well, the main reason is that stock pads are just not as good as performance pads, which seems really obvious, but they work the opposite way round, really. That's the best way to explain it. A stock pad is quite a soft compound. They're designed to work for road use. They're not designed to get super hot. When they get super hot, they go brittle and they fall apart. They wear out very fast, and you'll get a lot of brake fade when you get a lot of temperature in them. Whereas a performance pad is the other way round. So the more heat you build up in the pad, the more friction you can create with that pad. Because you've got more heat in the pad starts working better. Depending on the compound of pad you're using will depend how much better that gets as the temperature goes up. So for a track application, you want to be able to know that the more heat you're building in the pad, you're not going to start losing brakes. You want the opposite. You want to build heat in them and carry on driving around a track without having to worry that they're going to start to fade or they're going to start to fall apart, which is why you need performance pads.
What the hell?
So what is brake fade? So brake fade is when you get the brakes to such a high temperature, the gas is released from the pad itself and it builds up a layer between the pad and the disc. And the cat apparently wants to come in and join in with the comments. Have you got anything? No, you don't know about brakes? Well, you could learn if you watch the video. Okay, bye. So the way you get around this with more performance orientated pads is you have a cutout in the pad that allows the gas to escape through the pad material to stop it building up between the disc and the pad. You also have things like vented and drilled discs to allow the gases to escape. They're also there to clean the surface of the pad so you don't get glazing on the pad.
This looks interesting.
So how to read brake pad graphs. So the PBS pad graph is really simple. So it's 2D graphs. You've got 1, 2 axis. The left axis going up is mu. And the right, going across, is temperature. So basically what you're looking for is as the mu goes up, as the temperature goes up, so the more temperature you're putting into the pad, the more friction it's creating between the pad and the disc, so the better the brakes are going to be. Sorry, hang on. So what is mu? As in, mu is in the brake reader, not as in the cow. So mu is represented by this symbol, and it refers to the coefficient of friction of the pad compound. So in simple terms, it just means the amount of friction that exists between the pad and the disc. The mu value is generally between like 0.3 and 0.6 on most graphs. The closer a pad's mu value is to 0, it simply means the less friction coefficient it has, so the less good it is as a brake pad. The higher the value, the better it is. What pads do I need? This is the most common question that I get at work. So it will depend what you're doing with the car. If you are using the car as a sprint car, then you'll want something that gets up to temperature quite quickly, and it will hold that temperature and work really well. But what tends to happen is those sort of pads, when you get to the higher temperature ranges, start dipping off a little bit. So you want something like a PBS ProTrack for sprinting. Whereas if you are doing something like full track days, or you are doing things like the Nürburgring, or if you're doing things like club motorsport events, things like that, you'll probably want something like a ProRace pad. So a ProRace pad takes a little bit longer to get up to temperature, but when it's at temperature, it's got a stable line, so it doesn't start dropping off when it gets hot, which means you can repeatedly lap the car without having to worry that the brakes are going to start fading off like at the higher temperature. So I myself, in the Celica, I run PBS ProTrack in the front and rear. So I put them in the front this year, and it was the first time I've used them, and I went to Brighton, and the things are phenomenal. So I won first in class and first overall, mainly because the brakes were so good. I had so much confidence in the car. If anyone's been to Brighton, you'll know it's extremely hard on brakes and clutches and things like that. It's a real technical short course, and there's a lot of braking zones, so the brakes get really hot. So I wasn't sure how they were going to hold up, but they were fantastic. So then I came home and I ripped the stop tapes out the back, and I put PBS ProTrack in the back. Now the main question you get is, what are they like on the road? Well, I find them to be like a stock pad when they're cold. So they're no worse than driving around on normal brakes, but when they start getting heat in them, so if you are doing fast road stuff and you start getting heat in the pad, you can feel they are so much better. Before, it was like stamping on like a piece of soggy wood.
Brother,
Tom will know what I mean, because he used to map the car and he used to hate driving the car with them. Now there's so much confidence in the car because I can actually brake, that and the tyres, but the brakes are phenomenal. And the Mark III MR2 next year is going to be a track car. We'll be taking it to the ring, because I'm supposed to be getting married in May, and we're supposed to be going to the ring in April. But I will be putting PBS in the car for that for sure, just because I want to know that it's going to be able to stop. It will also be the sprint car, so it will be probably doing a first event in March, then going to the Nürburgring in April, and then coming back and doing the sprint again.
Tell me why.
So how does brake fluid work? So brake fluid is a hydraulic fluid that fills all your brake lines and flexi hoses and things on the car. That's another video. When you press the brake pedal, you put pressure on the system, that forces the pistons out and the pads against the disc, as we said earlier. So brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs water and moisture in the air. So you can't leave a bottle of brake fluid left open, because it will just absorb all the moisture out of the air. As however the brake fluid gets hot, it boils, and then it produces vapour and can produce air bubbles, and then it absorbs the moisture back into the fluid, and that lowers the boiling point of the fluid, which makes the fluid less effective. I will include a chart of what each brake fluid is, to save me explaining. Here.
oh, that's hot. That's hot.
So how do you combat high temperatures in your brakes? So first things first, you want to change the fluid, put a good quality brake fluid in. I'll do this. Next, you want to get some good quality pads. So these. You also want to get some good brake discs. So most people, if they're tracking a car, you tend to find that performance pads are harder than stock pads. So you'll go through discs more than you will go through pads. You can get drilled or groove discs. That will help stop glazing the pads, and it'll get rid of some of the gases and the debris off the pad. Next thing you can do is get brake ducts. So what brake ducts do is they feed fresh air from, say, the bumper in behind the back of the plate of the disc. What you'll find is that they generally come with a new backing plate with a hole in it, and then you add a line that goes to, like, say, a fog light. That will force air through into the back of the disc, and usually out the veins in the disc, or it will just cool the back face of the disc. That way it will keep the temperatures down. So if you have cooler temperatures on your brake discs, it will make the pads last even longer. How to bed brake pads in. So PBS pads have a specific way of bedding pads in. I'll put the link to the video here. But generally what bedding in is transferring a layer of brake material from the pad to the disc. So you want to do, generally on normal cars, you want to be doing some careful driving for, like, say, the first 100, 500 miles, depending on what they are, to allow that brake pad to leave a layer of material on top of the disc. That will stop you getting vibrations and it will improve the brake performance. So yeah, you need to bed brakes in. You can't just go straight out on them. There is a specific way to bed these in, and the video is really good, so they show you how to do it on track. So if you buy something like a ProTrack pad and you don't have a road legal car, you can literally follow this video, go straight out on track and bed them in on, say, like sighting laps or a warm-up lap on the track. So hopefully this video has helped you today and it's not been too boring. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to give us a little like down here and a subscribe. If you want to leave a comment to say how fantastic I've been, that will also be acceptable. I don't know if to do a few more of these tech things, probably not the way I've done it today. It will be actually fitting parts and showing you how they work. But we've had a storm over here in the UK, which has kind of meant that I couldn't do any work this weekend, so there is no footage. I was supposed to be fitting some white line anti-roll bars. I had a gazebo up and I was ready to do it Saturday morning. The wind took the gazebo away, even though it was tied down and weighted, and snapped it in half. So I currently have nowhere to do any work. So hopefully this weekend is nicer. I have so many things to do to the MR2. We've got white line anti-roll bars. We've got an oil cooler kit to go on there. I just don't have time or space to do it all. I also really need a new camera and a microphone. The microphone's garbage, so I need a new microphone. So if anyone wants to donate a camera and a microphone to me, it would be highly appreciated. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully it's been educational and not too boring, and we will see you again next week. Cheers!